So I'm going to take a few minutes to talk raw versus pasteurized milk and share my opinion on that. I'm going to take a position that's less popular these days, and I'm going to try not to be radical either way. It doesn't get as many clicks, but I think it's the right way, especially in this conversation. I like to be radical over just a few things in my life, and raw versus pasteurized isn't one of them. But I drink both. I love raw milk, and I think most people would be healthier if they drank raw milk. However, all of my milk today, except what family and friends drink, is getting pasteurized. It's going through the pasteurization process on its way to the customer. And I'll share with you, someday I do hope to sell raw milk. I have to do a few things. I have to have a few tanks separated, but I hope to invest in all that process here not too long to be able to sell raw milk. But the reason I haven't done it yet gets a little bit more complicated. And there's a few macro conversations to have. One is, we live in a very litigious society. And the reason why we pasteurize milk from large farms and agriculture and from our standpoint is because that gives you kind of just that kill section. You send all your milk through a kill, and that becomes like reducing your liability. That kill section now determines everything beyond that. We don't carry that liability anymore. With raw milk, we take a lot of liability. The farmer is essentially linking the farm to the customer, and thus in our society these days, that means we're taking on a lot of liability in order to do that. In case somebody does get sick, whether it's perfectly good milk or not, people could get sick, and I'll talk about that more in a second, and that then puts us at risk. So that's that pasteurization kind of event does a lot of separation of liability from the farmer to the end consumer, and it puts us kind of in a comfortable spot. So that's one thing. Two is, people these days, especially adults who get into raw milk, there can be, in fact, my tummy, I didn't drink raw milk growing up. My tummy was kind of sick for a little bit. There is kind of a period of time where those microbials in your gut is kind of getting transformed, and in my opinion, getting healthier in that transition. And so that, I mean, even perfectly good healthy milk can make us sick for a time. So that raw milk is full of really good active bacteria and microbials, which ultimately make us healthier. But it could, especially people who aren't connected to the farm, who have never seen the bugs on this farm, or especially people who rarely go outside, that milk could make your tummy a little tickly for a little while. I would argue that eventually it'll make your tummy healthier and your immune system will be better, and all this stuff that I'm not qualified to talk about, but I will someday. But yeah, so that's gonna happen for some people, and so there's a risk there. Furthermore, raw milk, and this kind of goes into my decision, and like, I'm a large farmer. I milk 6,000 cows here in that parlor over there twice a day. I mean, we're cranking through. We got 112 milking stations that are working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We have very, very good employees, very good protocols in place. We clean the lines twice a day. But even with all of that, it is almost impossible for me to have quality control enough that with all of that milk, I can ensure that there isn't some very fragile immune system out there who would be able to handle that. And the reason why, well, let me back up a little bit. The reason why it's so critical is because I'm convinced that raw milk itself from a healthy cow is not going to make really anybody sick. But can I ensure that 12,000 milkings in a 24-hour period, 112 milking stalls, that there is no situation where a speck of might get into that milk? Can I ensure that? That's going to be really, really hard. So if you're taking milk straight from the tank and consuming it, and there's a little speck, that's where things get wild. Now again, for me who's here, for probably most of the people who are in this region who are familiar with those microbials or those germs, are going to be just fine. But when you start shipping that far away from your farm, you start opening up more and more chances of people who might get sick from that, because it just gets very, very difficult to make sure there's no specks. And we can filter it out. We can filter, and we would. Raw milk, you filter it, you do all that stuff. I get that. And that's probably some of the technology that I would look into first as we are transitioning and trying to sell and clean and sell raw milk. So, I love raw milk. I think overall we'd all be better off with raw milk. I think because of the massive disconnect from the end consumer to the farm these days, that there's a little additional risk to drinking raw milk. I think with a little more technology of just good filters, and people becoming healthier, that raw milk will become more and more popular, and we will be in a position to try to sell more raw milk in the future. All that stuff. It's a good conversation to have. I welcome any questions, any feedback. Siempre mejor.